All right. Hi guys, welcome to another session of panel discussion from HR Power. So my name is Ridwan Ramli. I'm one of the co-founders of GoOut. So I'll be your moderator for today. So today we're gonna have three very handsome and experienced panelists. You can see one is Mr. Adrian, then Mr. Helmi, and another one is Mr. Tinesh. Shall share the slide. So today we're gonna talk about growth hacking strategies for Southeast Asia market. So before we start, the session gonna last until 1 hour. So for the last 15 minutes, we're gonna do a Q&A session. So hopefully during the panel discussion, all the participants can participate, silence their mics, and switch on their cameras. All right, okay. So for today's session, I would like to invite Mr. Aaron to introduce himself. Then after that, Mr. Tinesh, and last but not least, Mr. Helmi Rizwan. Thank you.
Thanks, Ridwan. Hi, everybody. I'm Adrian Watkins. I have been working for about 25 years. I had hair when I started. I'm a growth and digital transformation, I suppose, expert, having worked across Europe, UK, Asia, North Asia, Australia. I've worked very closely with this young man, Ridwan, before. Generally known as the growth go-to guy in Asia for small and big businesses aligned. And I'm very excited to have a very good conversation today. Thanks, Ridwan.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adrian. Mr. Adrian is also a good mentor of mine. He mentored us before this, so we're very thankful for his help. So can we get Mr. Tinesh to introduce himself and his company?
Yeah. Hi guys, I'm Dinesh here. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Arma. So say about me itself is like I'm a entrepreneur by passion, and I know the guys here, Ridwan and Hilmi, all from my cohort batch and startup, and good to know about Adrian also today. Yeah, and so at Arma, what we do is we simplify the team collaboration for a team management, and also we help teams to organize their workflow and also their internal and external collaborations. So good to know you guys, and I'm happy to join this panel discussion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tinesh. Wonderful introduction. So last but not least, Mr. Helmi. Sorry, Mr. Helmi, you are muted.
Sorry. Hi. Assalamualaikum and good evening to all. Nice meeting you, Adrian and Dinesh. We meet again. All right. Basically, my name is Helmi Rizwan. I'm from Swipe. We are a payment platform that want to do more than the normal payment gateway been doing. I'm the co-founder and also the chief revenue officer. Basically, I've been have an experience about 7 years in doing marketing and digital marketing. Now it's a new venture as doing my own startup with my partner. So hopefully tonight, based on the what we discuss and what we do, what we can do and share with other startups, we have learned something, new things, one or two new things together with the experienced people like Adrian and Tinesh itself. Right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Helmi. Okay, without further ado, let's start our panel discussion. So the first questions would be, what are the key growth hacking strategies that have worked well in the Southeast Asian market? Shall we start first with Mr. Helmi? For the first question?
Yeah, is it? Okay. Sorry, Rizwan, can you repeat the question?
All right, okay. The question will be, what are key growth hacking strategies that have worked well in the Southeast Asian market?
Okay. One of the main, I will say, growth hacking strategy that work well. I think most of it is the collaboration. This is the most dominant things that can be done by the startup, especially in Southeast Asia. Because okay, first before we say what is work, what's known, we have to understand first what is the growth hacking. How is the growth hacking is different from the normal marketing strategy. Okay, where in the growth hacking we know that what we want to achieve is how we can grow our business rapidly and fast, right? Compared to marketing strategy where it's more to promote our product to get the customer. So in growth hacking itself, from the definition itself, it shows that we need to find a unique way and that can help our business to not only get a sale but also grow, right? So this, by doing this, we need some strategy that can help us. Okay, for example, the collaboration. Why collaboration is one of the most important things? Because with collaboration, you can leverage in each other's company, because everybody have their own strength and weakness. So this collaboration will help us to leverage on the key area that we might not have some expertise, or we don't have some advantage. While when we leverage, that is where we can get move and growth together. Okay, and then another thing, because this is the new things about the new era when people do business. Because last time people look on the who is your competitor. Actually, there is no competitor. It's more on the who is your how you can collaborate. It's more on collaboration, right? Because you can have, because there are business that can have same target market with you, but different service or different product, right? So that is where you can leverage it, right? So one of it is the collaboration, and also on top of that, some sort of collaboration, but then you use more on the localized influencer, right? You can do some localized to collaborate with influencer is normal, but then in order for you to extend your business, you need to understand what is the nature of the business and at the area itself, or the country that you're entering, right? So from that's why you need to have a localized, understand what is the strength or weakness of the influencer that they have in the country, and how can you leverage on that. That is number two, I think I can share. And also one of the things always mouth to mouth, which is the referral. Referral always what be a good tool, because it's based on the recommendation from other people. So customer want to listen from, because when they listen from you, they know that it's your product or your service. But when they listen from other people that have some connection, it's like their family members or their relatives, the trust is more strong. Right? So from that, it can speed up the way that how the business can expand and get more, gain more revenue. So basically, I think that are the three main growth hacking strategy that the startup can implement and can look forward how they can use in order to get the business more expand and get more sales, right?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hemi, for the wonderful example. So maybe we would like to hear input from Mr. Adrian next, then followed by Mr. Tinesh. Mr. Adrian, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Ridwan. Yeah, I echo a lot of what Helmi said, actually. And I think when we're looking at growth hacking generally, and particularly in Southeast Asia, we've got to understand the market or the region that we're in. And coming from the UK and having lived in this side of the world for more than 10 years now, what still amazes me is how fragmented and different and diverse the different cultures are within every different part of Southeast Asia, whether it's a culture, whether it's a religion, a language, even things like legislation can be dramatically different. So if startups want to rapidly evolve, or if businesses want to growth hack and grow, They've got to really understand what it is, the framework that they're in. And I'm a big believer in frameworks. And for me, there's kind of 5 key points to a framework for this. So the first one would be strategy. So for this, regardless of the market you're going into, and it's not saying I'm going to go into all Southeast Asian markets now and I want to be number 1. It's which market I'm going to go into first. What's my go-to-market vision? What's my proposition? Does my product make sense? Does it solve something in this market? Does the price make sense? Just because it's a certain price in Singapore, is it going to be that price in Thailand? Probably not. But can I make enough margin? And if I can't make enough margin yet, do I stick in another market and I grow vertically and then move horizontally into a secondary market or a tertiary market? And then how can I track it all and make sure that my assumptions actually make sense? And that's kind of the strategic piece. But then you can look at operations. What are the different types of people you need to deliver something in a particular market? And how do you recruit them? What's the training? What's the process to onboard them and ensure that if you're not in that market, because you can't be in all markets at all times, how can you ensure that they still feel part of that team? From there, you sort of look at marketing and growth. And I absolutely echo what Helmi said. Partnerships are really, really key, really due to the diversity of Southeast Asia. It's impossible to know everything about every market. So it's generally a great idea to partner with a best-in-class national company to help maintain that global competitiveness, but really understand the local nuances and really the regulations, actually, whether it's moving money around, whether it's withholding tax, whether it's data collection. There's so many different things it can be. And then actually, how do you finance it? Do you have enough money to do it? Do you need to raise capital? I mean, that's probably a whole different conversation. And then as a leader of that business, how do you ensure that you can continue to contribute to that success in multiple different markets at the same time, which will all be in a slightly different growth path of their own, because they'll grow rapidly or slowly depending on the maturity of that market. So frameworks are everything.
That's very good, Mr. Aiden. So we get the information best from the both world, because you've been both part of the countries. Yeah, thank you so much for the sharing. Yeah. So Mr. Tinesh.
Yeah, thank you, Rizwan. Thank you. I'm glad to say that I'm not a very good like a marketing guru as like Adrian or Helmi. Actually, I'm still learning my ways to get it on the marketing part as like a startup entrepreneur. Actually, so maybe in my near experience on having a growth hacking ways is, my understanding is like, I think growth hacking in a way like we have to cheat the way of the growth in your startup actually. So in that way, if you look at it in that way, in my experience, I think as a startup, one of the easiest way to growth hack into it is maybe you look into your competitor very closely.
Last time they made buy when she went scooter. Oh, you today buy so many things. Wait, this is my mom.
Eddie.
Eddie, your mic is open.
Yeah, Eddie.
This is name is Apple.
Where do you get the money from?
Still one more brown color.
Okay, I think
It's okay. I muted him. Don't worry. Carry on. Carry on.
Okay. Thank you. So what I was saying is one of the ways, like, you look very closely into your competitor and you try to mimic what your competitor is doing actually. If you are looking towards like your direct competitor is a very big company, let's say they are like a Fortune 500 company or something actually. So you can look it very closely how they're doing the market, how they're doing approaching the market, their go-to-market strategy, their marketing techniques, and you bring that and you adapt it to the way of how you want to do it for a startup. So I think that would be the best way to start it in a growth hacking way, because like most of the time, this kind of big companies, they have like figured out most of the growth hacking ways, the marketing techniques. So as a startup, maybe you can hack into it and you can like try to get whatever techniques from them and you apply into your own startup. So most probably if you're going on the same vertical as like your competitor, most probably you are able to like get a 50% of the marketing techniques and you adapt it to the way of your market and your culture, and maybe you can have a try and test. The reason way like a use case scenario or example stories that I've seen is like um, that I've read before is like an Airbnb story when they was still a startup. Actually, they growth hacked their way through using Craigslist actually. So what they did was any people who listed their short rental home in Craigslist, what they will do is an Airbnb team will personally send them an invite to recommend them to also list in Airbnb. So what they did was they automated this way so that everybody who was able to put on a list on Craigslist, they able to automate the way of sending an email to them and recommend them to also put in Airbnb. So that is one of the story that I learned about growth hacking through Airbnb. They growth hack their way towards that to get more users, you know. So I think, yeah, about growth hacking, for me, frankly, on the initial space, I mean, on the initial phase, I would say that the easiest part is like try to mimic your competitor. And my mentors, they have seen that there's no shame in actually copying your competitor actually at the initial stage itself. So try to look at what they are doing, and they are doing really well actually, and try to mimic some sort of it. Is it through their websites or what are their SEOs and their techniques, and try to work it out in your startup actually. Thank you.
Oh, that's really interesting sharing. So, Mr. Dinesh was talking about growth hacking. So maybe we would like to hear some experience. So maybe Mr. Adrian experience on how growth hacking during his startup years.
Do you know what? I think Tanesh made a really good point, and I think where you can look at competition and see things where there are parallels with your business, and you can try and mimic some of those executions, whether it's a marketing asset, whether it's a message, whether it's a business function or a product feature or anything like that. I think it's an absolutely valid point. I would say though, just from my own personal experience, I would say that I would still do that within the confines of what I would call a framework, only because it's very easy to get, and I'm not saying Tanesh would, but it's very easy to get, go and find something shiny over here and spend all your time and your money. So you're investing money and human capital into trying to get this right in the hope that you can then test it. Well, there's a phrase that I heard many times in my life, and it comes back to me a lot, which is run fast and break things. And don't be afraid of breaking things, because you can put them back together, and what you build from the pieces may be better than what you had originally. And I'm a firm believer of that. And that's why we do sprints on development cycles and all these kind of things. So 100% agree. One of the things that, so looking at my experience a minute, one of the things I found when I was a C-suite in a sort of an element of an SME business, but we were also trying to grow across Southeast Asia quite rapidly to raise investment. We actually went, we looked, so we had a team of maybe 40, 50 people at that point. We've grown quite dramatically, again, controlling the sort of that value exchange of that OPEX cost, of the cost of the hires. But we actually found that you can create specific business hubs, function hubs. It could be one person, it could be 3 people, it could be a team of developers, but in very specific markets. So if you're in Southeast Asia, you might run your finance or your investment conversations out of Singapore, and your board meetings out of Singapore. That's possibly where you're going to get investment. But if you're in customer service, you might do it. You've got a couple of reps, you might do it out of the Philippines. If you're looking at development work, you might do it out of Vietnam. And as long as you can make sure that everybody feels part of that team, and you maintain that continuity and that sort of thought leadership consistency with the teams, then you can actually play to the strengths of the markets that they're in. And for me, we found that was a really good way. It probably accelerated maybe 8 to 12 months of where we thought we would be, because we had people in one place doing what they knew, doing the best they could do, but still having sprints across multi-functional departments across the business. So I'm a big believer in creating specific hubs or small teams, quite tactical teams sometimes, to deliver a very clear function or a product. You might disband that team afterwards, but it's there to serve a very specific hack which then goes away, and then you redeploy them based on their strengths, or you bring in more people. And that's one thing I found was incredibly successful in past businesses that I've worked with.
A very wonderful, Mr. Adrian. So what do you think about that, Mr. Helmi? Maybe you can share like some maybe any growth hacking with Swipe you would like to share with us?
Okay, yes. Like me, Dinesh and Adrian mentioned about how you improvise things that you can get from your competitor. That is, I think, that's very brilliant, a good start. Because as a startup, you have a lot of limitation, especially on the resource and the money. When you do some improvisation, or when you look at your competitor, you know, especially the big one, because they have do some research before they do something. They have done the research, the study, so you can take advantage on that, and then improvise it to match with what you have. And then from that, the most important thing is you do it, execute it, and start collecting the data for you to analyze, and then you can know what works and what doesn't work for you. And talking about, okay, how about Swipe leverage on this growth hacking? For example, we use like in terms of the user-generated content, where you want to find the expert in your field. For example, people for Swipe, the payment gateway. So you want to talk, you target the people, the influencer in the personal, like the developer that always do the sharing, that have some engagement, right? They talk about the payment gateway. So why for them, this kind of people, normally there is like medium to micro to the medium influencer. They are not really influencer yet because the numbers of followers is not so many. But the advantage for the people, especially the below 100,000 followers, even though the follower is 100,000 below, but the engagement with the audience that they have is high compared to you when you go to the somebody that really the influencer that have like 1 million followers. You have the quantity, but the quality, the engagement is low, right? So that's something that you want to play around. So that's where you can ask them, especially now, and simply for now, one of the strategy to get them to generate the video or the content for you naturally, because that is how with the platform that we have now, the TikTok, Facebook, everything, they have their own algorithm where they want to push the content that has high engagement to the audience, because they want to have the retention, the long retention period to the platform. So when we engage this so-called technical micro influencer, it will help you to grow and to grow and get more engagement on the audience, okay? Get more trust, right? And then from that, the most important, like I mentioned just now, the data that we get, okay? Because until the day that we really execute that thing, there are no exact answer what is wrong, what works, what not. All right. So when you execute it, then you can start get the data. Then whatever that we want to do after that, it should be on the data driven itself, right? So that's how you want to manage and get everything based on the data. So that's I can share from what Swipe doing.
All right, thank you so much for the sharing. So I believe that most of the startup have this question to ask themselves. Even myself, sometimes I ask this question, like how us as a startup to stay up to date with the latest trend in growth hacking, because sometimes like us, we are lack in experience, so we doesn't know really what's the correct way to do it. So maybe we would like to hear some thoughts from the panel discussion. So maybe we can start with Dinesh first.
Yeah. So it was about how we keep on update, right? Actually, about this startup growth hacking. So
Yeah,
Yeah, one of the ways that what we do in Arma is like we're trying to see that what are the latest trends that going on the region actually, and we used to capitalize on the trend. And how to say, personally in Arma, what we realize is we first we understand that we need to know that what we really have within our startup actually. So because we being as a startup actually, and we don't have much resource and not a lot of money to put it in the marketing part actually. So we must see that what are the tools or the uh, tools or whatever softwares or the networks that we're having within to capitalize on doing the marketing. So personally on in Arma, what we did was being a collaboration platform, we see that there is a trend in Southeast Asian markets that like Hilmi said before, there is a trend on Southeast Asian market that Southeast Asians are kind of fond on building a community online and offline actually. So we personally in Arma that we capitalize on building a community because we are being a collaboration platform. So for us, it's not a very big margin of cost. So that using our platform itself, we plan to build a community around it actually, bringing in people and bringing in startups actually, and we increase the engagement on the community, and the same time be able to give back something to the startup community and ecosystem. So for us is win in the both ways. For in Arma perspective, we able to growth hack so that using the collaboration and community space that we get to know about more people and they able to see our product outright, and also be able to talk with them, inquiry on them. And on the community part, on the people who are joining our
Oh, I guess.
people, and they're able to get engaged with them and getting more benefit and whatever, like how to say, more partnerships, and they're able to collaborate with each other. So we see that there is a win-win situation. And before even we go into the creating a community space, we analyze this thoroughly with my partners and my mentors itself. Then we came up to the decision saying that, okay, we're going to do this in a growth hacking way because we are being a collaboration tool and platform. This is the most nearest way where we could growth hack without using so much of resource and also money. So currently that we're working on our community. So our community is like, I think you guys all know about it, like community.arma.chat actually. So we're working on that. We're working on building people and bringing in people. And yeah, it is an ongoing process. We understand that it takes a lot of time actually. And that is the way that we're trying to see, and we're trying to capitalize on the trend that going on now for Arma.
All right, thank you, Tish. Now we would like to hear more experienced marketers, Mr. Eden itself, because he really explained best of both worlds. What's your take on that, Mr. Eden?
So I look at it in two different ways, and the way I was going to answer that was the reverse of what Tinesh said, but I actually agree with him. For me, there are two ways to growth hack your knowledge. One is about what I would say passive knowledge. It's learn as much as you can, read as much as you can, subscribe to as many free newsletters as you can, subscribe to a Feedly that will send you relevant information based on the keywords that you want to know. So you're always reading and researching and learning more. And that, number one, 100%. And that's how I was originally going to answer this question. But Tanesh made a really good point that actually that's just passive. The active way of actually really understanding more about your business, understanding what you have, frankly, what you don't have, what your customers and your potential customers think. This is the only way to get this information, really. You can look at lots and lots of data and analyze things forever, but just go and talk to them. And talk to them, hold focus groups, go and talk to them online, go and create a Facebook group, create a meta group, use Arma, there are many different ways to ask for information without having to pay for it, which is a part of the point of growth hacking, is to try and keep the cost down where it makes sense. But actually go and have conversations with potential customers. And it's the people that probably aren't your customers who will give you certainly as interesting information as those who do, because they're the ones that you haven't yet managed to convert. And so the ones you've already converted are great, and you want more of those, and keep doing what's working. continue to innovate, continue to growth hack, continue to pioneer whatever it is you're pioneering, and take the best bits of other competitors and put your own spin on it and solve the problem in the unique way that your business probably and hopefully does. But also really go and understand why the people who haven't converted aren't converting. Now that could be as simple as a marketing message, a creative asset that's worked in one market and not another, or one audience persona and not another. Or it could be something much more fundamental, like your pricing is wrong, or your product doesn't fit, or it's the brand name or the product name translates badly in a particular market for slang than it does in another market. There are so many. You don't know what you don't know, and the only way to find that out is to go and ask people who interact with your brand, either positively, negatively, or neutrally. And the idea is to always learn from that and to continually tip them into the positivity top of the funnel, to learn more and to continue to grow vertically and horizontally to improve that conversion funnel at the end of the day.
Wonderful, wonderful. So now we get a better, clear picture of it. So maybe your turn, tell me.
Yeah, I would like to add some. I get one point that Adrian said just now, because if you ask the question is how you want to keep update yourself with the new strategy of growth hacking. If you go there, you can find the ChatGPT or whatever. You can see that a lot of things that you can do. Like you go, for example, follow the blog, engage with online community, attend the seminar. But one point is, the really important, even though you do everything, but you do this, but you don't do one point, one word that Adrian mentioned just now, you will not go anywhere. What I mentioned is read all the journal, all the subscription that you have, and start to implement it. If you engage with everything, but you don't read and you don't have some curiosity and don't be proactive, get to know what is the most up-to-date thing, then you will not go anywhere. Okay, so read is the keyword. I believe for me lah, because you go to the blog, you have to read. You find from the simple posting, you have to read. Everything is about reading and stay. Ask questions, and stay proactive. But the most once you get that, to know what is the updated growth hacking strategy is one thing, right? So from that, sometimes what is when you get flooded with all the strategy, is also a danger, especially for the startup, right? You get flooded and then you get droning. Which one that you want to use? Right? You get confused, and then I want to do this, I want to do this. At the end of the day, none of it you try. So most important, after you read, you try. As I mentioned, when you try, you get the data, is it work for you or not. It can be that the strategy is the latest, up to date, but it might not work for your industry, for your startup. So from that, you have to experiment it and test and adjust to what's your business, to what the need of your customer and audience.
All right, thank you. Okay, before we continue for the next one, before I forget, our panel discussion today is actually hosted, sponsored by Arma Chat, Job Majestic, and Project Asia Data. So, yep, thank you to them. All right, okay. Moving on, we've been talking about growth hacking, we're talking about data, and so on, and we should never stop reading, because from there we can learn a lot. So this is actually for myself. Maybe all the participants would like to know is how does a startup measure the effectiveness of their growth strategies? So maybe we start first with Mr. Adrian.
That's a very interesting question, because it will depend on the phase of the growth strategy. So different brands, different companies will be in different life stages of or life cycles of their evolution. So if you're a company starting out, you're probably going to want to try and get the first 100 sales. If you're a company that's doing I don't know, 1,000 sales a day or sign-ups or whatever the product or service is, you're going to want to understand how to maintain that continual funnel conversion, but then bring in some new business, whether that's a new product, whether that's a new audience, customer audience, whether that's another country, could be multiple different things, and how to then do that in the most cost efficient but successful way. So I think it kind of goes back to my point at the beginning when I said that I think I said that in Southeast Asia there is no one size fits all, because every market's different. I would say there is no one size fits all for any company that is trying to growth hack, and even a company that's trying to growth hack in a new market will be in a very different part of their evolution than they will be in a market maybe that they've been headquartered in for 5 years. So there are certain things that you can always look to which are that has continuity across all. So that would be things like keeping down costs of marketing. So deploying strategies or specific tactics that you have split test or tried multiple times in different markets to see if they continually work. So just because something works in a market, it doesn't mean it won't work in another market, but you can still trial that and see if it's successful rather than try and reinvent the wheel again. Obviously, goes back to the point that every market is different, but there are some similarities between all, and there are similarities between customer personas usually, customers who buy your products. So cost efficiencies and conversion and basket size, whether it's whatever it is that you're doing, are probably the three core parts of a business funnel that aren't going to change wherever you are in a market or wherever you are in a life cycle. So as long as you can add more sales without increasing the cost of sign up or cost of ARPU, average revenue per user, they're the sort of things that you want to be looking at across multiple different lines of business, depending on where you are in your evolution.
Wonderful, wonderful. What do you think, Dinesh? Any input from your side?
Yeah, I completely agree with Adrian what he said actually. Like because like Southeast Asian market is like purely a unique and fragmented market actually. Like I think what works in UK would not work in Southeast Asia actually. So
definitely not.
It is a kind of tough market actually. I think one of the way we could look into how we look the growth hacking techniques work is like maybe the easiest way is I would say is measure the metrics actually. So when you run a campaign or marketing campaign, or even you run like a post or something actually in LinkedIn or whatever, so a simple post actually. So you just track the metric of whatever marketing techniques that you guys are using actually, and compare that with in upcoming ways, like maybe you put a post today and you continuously putting posts on every day actually, and you continue to track on first week and second week and third week actually. So when you try to put it on a growth hacking way, when you're using a particular strategy, you try to measure the metrics of the strategy actually, whether it's going to be like a number of users, is it they are getting convert to our website, what is the viewers in the website, or this kind of metrics actually. So when we able to measure the metrics actually, then we will have a clear point of knowing that this growth hack actually works in extended period of time actually. So when we get to know about that, then we can make an adjustment on the strategy actually. Does the strategy actually works for us or not, or do we have to look into a different strategy? So let's say if the strategy works on us, then maybe we able to double down on the strategy actually, and going much more faster and further, putting more resource on the strategy actually. So yeah, for me, I think we personally look it in that way. In my experience, my own experience actually, look it in that way of measuring the metrics of the growth hacking engagement and trying to respond on that and trying to have a consistent measure metrics. There's one thing that I've learned, that when you don't measure on what you do, you fly blind actually. So there's no point actually if we be using a strategy and we are not measuring the metrics, then we are going blind. Is it really happening or not? We don't know that actually. Is it working for us, the startup, or not? We don't know that actually. So it is a good way to measure the metrics. Doesn't matter if it's a small metrics or whatever. So as long as we see at least 1% or 2% improvement every day, it's just working actually. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Before we continue, Miss Helmi, to all the participants, if let's say you wanted to ask question, feel free to type at the chat box. So at the end of the session, I'll be write it out, and maybe you can address which panel you wanted to answer, or is it open to all panel? So yeah, let's continue with Helmi.
Okay, so basically very good point that Adrian and Dinesh already shared. So I think I just summarized what they have said. I put it on the structure. So I think this may be the easiest way to understand. Adrian talking about 85, who's your market, where are you in, right? So in order for you to keep track of do some measurement on to see is work or not, your girl hacking. First, number one, this is just a summarize that is the objective. You have to define what is the clear objective, what you want to achieve from the growth hacking strategy that you want to run. Okay, from the objective, when you have the objective, you have clear objective what you want to achieve. To determine what is the relevant KPI that align with your objective. That is number two. Okay. Then when you have all the components that tie to your objective, and you set the baseline. So the baseline, you establish the baseline, the metric that you can compare when you get the result. Are you above or you're below, right? Because this you will track to number 4, which is you have to track and analyze, right? So when you have track and analyze, when you have the baseline, at least you have some sort of referral. Okay, where are you and where you're going? Okay, all right. On top of that, always the most expensive thing for us as a startup or for the business is the customer. So when we already have the customer, always get the customer feedback, do the survey, right? Because they will give the true color of what they have experienced based on our service or our product, right? And then we must have regular reporting and evaluation, right? Keep evaluate what we have done, the reporting to make sure you keep track everything that you do systematically, right? And then lastly, you must always establish the continuous feedback and the loop and make adjustment based on the feedback and also the result that you get. So with this, I think this is the flow in order for you to measure one strategy to another strategy when you run. Because the most important, the strategy A might work for the company A, but then it doesn't work for us. It might not work for us. So, but then if you don't try, you don't know. So when you try, so you must have some set of thumb, what you want to see, or how you want to measure it. So this is the flow that the sequence that you must put in line. Then only you can know whether you are doing this strategy is good for you or not, right? I think there's some flow maybe, and then or finish up to add on that.
Okay, thank you so much. So looks like we have one question from Mr. Jean. So what are some cost-effective growth hacking strategies that startup with limited financial resources can employ to drive customer acquisition and growth? So I would like to hear Mr. Aiden to answer this first. Maybe I'll take notes myself for myself as well. Mr. Aiden, go ahead.
You can always ping me. It's a really good question. I think, first of all, get the hygiene right. So make sure that you've got your SEO correct. And again, this depends on the type of business, right? But make sure your SEO is done properly. Make sure that you've got, make sure that you're leveraging social media to, I think it was Amo's point, but someone on the panel said it, and I think everyone feels the same. Leverage social media because it's free. The only cost is human capital, so it's your own cost. start creating a blog. You know, content marketing is a really good way to control the narrative, to push it out, to hopefully get friendly companies to also cross promote it. You know, and again, the only cost is yourself, as long as you can write, and if not, ask a friend or somebody else to do that as well. Then you're looking at data. So that's kind of your hygiene, right? So then your hygiene on data is make sure that you're capturing as much information as you can in maybe a free platform or a startup sort of small cost platform. Make sure you've got your as much information as you can that you can then cluster your audiences around. Make sure you've then got very tailored email marketing campaigns that you can send to them. And the whole point about growth hacking is a lot of it should be automated, or at least you try to move to automation. So the more you can work on an email platform to you know, it comes in, you know, it's this sort of person, boom, it sends this response. You test, learn, and optimize that over time, but hopefully you then find that sweet spot for that audience, for that market, for that product. Then rinse and repeat that in different markets, change it, or different products, change it as needed. And then the thing that we talked about right at the beginning, and influencer marketing goes in that as well. That's your social media piece. The other bit as well is partnerships and collaborations. Partner with companies who need your supply or your products to help them become more relevant, or they have a similar audience set and they want to offer a slightly bigger or slightly differently skewed value exchange to their customers, where they're repackaging your product, reselling your products, or partnering with you in a proper collaboration, and look to do the same in reverse. This is the quickest way quite often to really own a space or become much more prevalent in a space when you're partnering with a company that does not have direct competitors, that aren't direct competitors, but have a very similar set of customers that will be interested in what you want and what your therefore partners have.
Wonderful, Mr. Adrian. Wonderful insight. So maybe the other two panels would like to add on that.
Okay, on top of what Adrian mentioned, because I think Andrew covered everything in terms of the free tools that already have. That's the basics, right? Then we talk about the partnership collaboration, and another thing is the referral. The referral is where you get from mouth to mouth, right? That is where we can leverage on the user side, because that will be the easiest testimony. And always get a feedback survey from your existing customer in order for you to know how we can move forward with other activities. So that's from me.
I think on my side, I think pretty much Adrian and Hilmi, they covered the whole concept of what are the good hacking strategies and the cheap ways that we can do it, the cost-effective ways actually. I think like I said before, the thing is like for a startup, it's just that we should understand that what we have and what we don't have. So that would be a very big difference actually in growth hacking, the cost effective, you know, what we can actually do with what we're having and what we can't do actually. If we're able to analyze that, get a strong foot on that, and we can see that what are the growth hacking strategies that listed by like Adrian and Helmi and me before actually, then they can analyze that which could be the one that align with the objective like Helmi said before, and we can see that which is the most effective, cost effective way that we could implement it actually. So to have that, we must understand that what we having within ourselves in startup and what are the resources we got and how much we could spend and what we can't do that. There's not all the good hacking strategies that we can use. There are few growth hacking strategies that we have to use a lot of resources to do it actually. But we can see that which is aligned with our objective, and also we can list down and we can use it the most cost effective ways, and we're trying to go it by one. I think that is the short answer for me.
All right. Okay. So that's another two questions. Okay. The first one is from Mr. Paddy Tan. So can you provide example of successful growth hacking campaign implemented by cash-strapped startups, highlighting the tactics and techniques they use to achieve significant growth without a large budget? So this question is open to all panelists. So maybe you can give example or maybe from your own experience. So any panelists would like to start first?
I think I will go ahead first.
Yeah.
I think the shortest one I can list down is I mean, in my near experience, I've seen that one of our like our startup founder, you guys know about ArtMeet, which is Calvin Tan, actually. They got a very quite significant user base. One of the strategies that I've seen before that he posted in LinkedIn and also he shared with us was what they was doing is they trying to do a contest and also a leaderboard kind of thing, which is a, to put it in a strategy way, is a gamification and also reward system. So that is one of the strategies they use for ArtMeet actually. So that works for them actually. They found out that it's working for them. Then they put it double down on it and they get a significant user base for them actually. So when I first time looked into it, it was really cool to see that, yeah, even though they are doing a design job for website for them actually, but this kind of gamification and reward system kind of strategy actually works for them. So we realized that because when we look into like Southeast Asian market, actually Southeast Asian are kind of fond with the gamification experience actually. So when we put it something in a way of like design and also art kind of font, and you also gamify the experience, there are actually a lot of people who like to do it in a way to get a job or something, being in a leaderboard. So that works for them. That is one of the nearest experience that I've seen, and also I learned from one of my.
Oh, I think we lost Miss Dinesh. Oh yeah, he's back. Uh, yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
guys. Yeah.
We lost you for a moment just now. You were talking about
Yeah.
South Asia, then you started to hang.
Yeah. What I was saying was Southeast Asians are kind of fond in gamification experience. That is one of a unique insight. When I look into the ArtMeet and their strategy, I found out that there is one of unique insight saying that actually Southeast Asian are kind of fond with gamification experience and also reward system. So for them personally, I see that it works for them. It's one of the technique they're able to grow their user base very fast actually, so that they're able to bring in more designers into their platform. At the same time, people get engaged with the platform and they're able to find more designing jobs, and also other companies and organizations came and listed their requirements to get a designers. So that is one of the way they made their platform very competitive compared to their competitors. So that is the strategy that I've seen in the, how to say, my personal experience that I've seen through one of my fellow founders. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Adrian, maybe you can provide us with some example with the question.
Yeah, sure. Very similar to Nash, actually. Gamifying and creating viral loops are a really good way to drive customer growth, but for not very much money. And a virtual loop is like a refer a friend and get some kind of value exchange in return. So the end point of a gamification strategy. I won't say who, but one of the companies that I've worked with in the past had launched an app, and they were trying very hard to get more people to engage with the app. It was a content app, so it's always a bit more challenging. And they were trying to drive to app from web, which is where their history and their legacy was. And of course, if you can't, the way they made money on the web was through advertising and sponsorship, but that's kind of a model that started to die or started to evolve in different ways, where it becomes much more strategic, where you do sponsorships and partnerships and that kind of stuff. So you take them into one app, you start to capture more data, you start to understand more about them, and you show them more relevant things, which is sponsorship or other stuff. So they had to get more people into the app. So that's exactly how they did it. They offered from where most 90% of their traffic went to the web. They offered more people a value exchange which was it was a coupon from memory. I think it was a couponing system. If they downloaded the app and read X number of articles, then they would get something. If they then referred a friend, they would get something else. And what happened is that over 2 months, their customer acquisition cost, or their CAC, actually dramatically transformed, because they started to find the push notifications on the phone, on the app, became so much more valuable than hoping that someone would click on a link on an email that no one really looks at that often when they're busy at work, and this is a time sensitive thing. So driving using gamification and reward based mechanisms, and then backing that up through rewarded video advertising, which does cost money but can be done in a very specific way, where you play a game, you run out of lives, you watch a video, you get another life, and then you click on that and you do something with it. It's a company I used to work for. That then again just reinforces the gamification and the value exchange, and it means that the customer affinity to that company becomes much more valuable, which is why they were then because they go, oh, you understand me, you've given me something in return, so I've shared with my friend and they've done something and they got something and therefore I got something. You must love me and understand me, so I'll do that again. And that then continues to grow exponentially, hopefully. So as long as the value exchange is always valid and relevant, and again, that varies by market and by products and everything else and company, that's a really good way to drive success. And at least one company, if not several, I've worked with or for have deployed these strategies, particularly more recently as well.
All right, wonderful. So the last question is actually for Mr. Helmi, because he's in the fintech industry. So Miss Jaslyn asks us, how much should one spend on customer acquisition? Is there any familiar or factors that a startup need to take into account? So maybe you can just share a quick answers before we wrap it up.
Very, very interesting, very good question from Jaslyn. Thank you for the question. This is very, people always ask, how much do I spend for customer acquisition? It's normal question that people will ask. But actually, to answer that, it's very, there are no one answer that fits for all, right? Because there are several factors that come in when you have to decide how much customer acquisition for your business, because it's very in terms of your industry, on your target market, your growth stage, okay, your business model, and what is your available resource, right? So basically, all these components, you have to look on the all components. What do you have? That's what I can say. The basic formula is you have to try. So when you want to try, right, what you can do is we can test, measure, and we can adjust. So when we want to test, we can always start with the smaller amount of budget, right? So from this, we can see, okay, is it work or not? Okay, what is the return? What the ROI, right? What's the because currently, if you run the ads, everything, you can know what is your click through, your cover click, everything, CPC, everything like that. Then what is your ROI? So I think, and then you also can get some idea, like we've discussed before, from our competitor, right? What take them as a benchmarking, okay, to set the baseline. But again, that is just to set the baseline, because there are other factors that I mentioned earlier, right? Because the size, the resource they have, that maybe they can spend that much, or they, because of the resource that they have, and the test that they have been run, so quite some time they can get the lower cost. But then for us, it might be because we just started, so it might be a bit high. So at least some sort of idea, we can have some sort of idea on what it's about. Are we far or far away or far below, and then we can adjust from that. So I can say that always go back. You can start small and then measure it and then adjust, right, accordingly based on the benchmark that we already set.
All right. Okay. So thank you so much for all the panel discussion. So before I wrap it up, this panel discussion, once again, I would like to thank you to our sponsors, Ahmad Chat, Job Majestic and Project Issue Data. So thank you, Mr. Tinesh, Mr. Helmi, and Mr. Adrian for your time. So see you guys again next week, same time and same place. Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
Rizwan.
everyone. Great
You've been
panel.
a wonderful moderator, Rizwan. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
Also. Yeah.
Can be
No,
a
no, great moderation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye-bye, guys.